Welcome everybody. Hope you all are doing well today. I do have a buffer here on my phone. Just let me know if the wind gets a little loud for you guys. Well, welcome everybody. So we're here. This is our second mare facility we have in Kentucky. We're visiting with some of our retired mares today. So we have 3 properties in Kentucky. We've visited the nursery farm in some previous live streams. We're here today at our second mare facility. This is the largest of the 3 farms that we have here. This farm's about 800 acres. It's absolutely gorgeous right now. Now, if you've been on one of our horse country tours, you know this farm as our Matriarchs and Maidens farm. This is where all of our retired mares come to spend their retirement years. This is also where our mares come when they come off the racetrack. So those would be the maidens in that Matriarchs and Maidens title. So those are mares that have retired from racing. They'll come here and they'll get introduced to their second careers. Come and relax in paddocks smaller than this. They'll get introduced to a little bit of a quieter lifestyle. It's a bit more serene here. Their routines aren't quite as intense as they were on the racetrack. So they'll relax in their paddock. Then slowly they'll move on into these bigger fields. Kind of similar to how the foals will graduate to larger paddocks as time goes on. But these 3 would be the matriarchs in that title. So these are mares that have retired from the broodmare band. All the mares that retire from our band will come here and they'll live in herds here together. We have about 12 mares between this farm and our nursery farm. We have 2 retired mares there. These 3 are some of the oldest that we have. So they're in this field together, so they have less competition. So we'll meet some of these guys. So we'll start here. This is the oldest mare in this field. This is Luminare. Luminare is 29 years old. She's bred in Argentina. She was successful both on the racetrack and in the breeding shed. She had black type winners in both Argentina and here in America. Yes, they're retired from breeding. So she had a daughter named Lady Morin who was bred in Argentina, and she came over to the States. She was a grade 1 winner at Santa Anita. She won a grade 1 at Santa Anita. She also had a grade 3 winner. She is the grand dam of a horse named Champagne Anyone, who won the Gulfstream Park Oaks. Like I mentioned, she's 29 years old, so she's one of the oldest horses we have. And she's very friendly, very lovely to be around. And we have a mare that I'm sure you all are familiar with. This is Maggy Hawk. Maggy Hawk is the dam of Afleet Alex. Maggy is 26 this year. She's the dam of Afleet Alex, who was a champion 3-year-old. He won the Preakness and he won the Belmont Stakes. Come on one of our Matriarchs and Maidens tours, you've probably been greeted by Maggy Hawk. This is Maggy Hawk, Marianne, if you're just joining us. So in addition to Afleet Alex, she's also the dam of Storm and Maggie, who's in our broodmare band. And she's also the dam of Maggie's Melody in our broodmare band. We saw her in an earlier live stream. So she's got 2 active daughters in the band, though she is now retired. She has, so she's one of the horses we have here that has a connection to a winery. So we mentioned in previous streams, all of our barns are named after wineries. It's a connection to our founder and to Miss Barbara Benke. Maggy Hawk is the namesake of a winery in California called the Maggy Hawk Winery. They produce wines that are named after her and after her foals. There's a lot of similarities to producing great wines and producing great horses. So one of which is that they are a reflection of the land that they are raised on. That's one of the reasons why we value the time that our horses spend out in their paddocks, why they spend most of their time outside. Now these mares, since they are retired, they don't come in and out of the barn like our mares and foals do. They spend their time here in their paddocks. They'll be fed out here in their paddocks. They just had their lunch. They'll get ready to have a nap here pretty soon as well. Try to block this wind for you guys. They just had their lunch. Now they're just relaxing here. They'll receive, of course, the same treatment that we would our active mares. So they'll still see a farrier every 4 weeks. They'll have their teeth floated. They'll be checked every day. Make sure that they're doing well. But they just don't come in and out of the barn like our active mares do. So mares will retire from breeding for a variety of reasons, whether it's age or just the health of the mare. So we're always taking her health and happiness into consideration. We do that with the active mares, as well as with these retired mares. So here's the last mare in this field. This is class on class. She's the dam of a stakes winner named Don't Get Mad. She has a filly that's active on the track now. Her name is Persephone's Dawn. She's by Ghost Sapper. Last foal that she had before she came here. So I may have mentioned before, these are the oldest mares that we have. They're in this field together, so they have a little bit less competition. We do have a much bigger herd. We're just making sure that these guys are getting all the attention they deserve. Do you all have any questions about these three mares? So Maggy Hawk is usually the one that runs the show out here. Sometimes it's the oldest mare in the field, but these three are close in age. Sorry, I'm trying to block the wind here. But Maggie does run the show. She's very friendly. I'm coming over to say hello. The winery is the Maggy Hawk Winery. It's named after Maggy Hawk. They've had quite a few foals between them. I'm trying to think of the numbers. They do still run around a little. Yeah, Maggie's the one that, she's always first up between these three. Something's happening in the paddock. She's the one that pushes them away so she can get there first. See what's going on. So you can see that other than these girls, there aren't a lot of horses out here just yet. So this is where our mares will come when they retire. Well, yes, when they retire, but also when they are weaned. So the foals will stay at our nursery farm. The broodmares will come here. So this farm acts as the winter home of our broodmare band. When they're on this farm, they don't come in and out of the barn. We have stalls for every horse in case there's some serious weather. They need to come in from a storm. But the rest of the time, this is just their relaxation time. These guys are groomed about once a week. They're out 24/7. So this paddock is pretty large. This one's about 50 acres. I want one across the way here. I'll end with a shot of that. That paddock across the way is 100 acres. So we'll go across and we'll see that here in a minute. Yes, they're very happy here. This is the group that would greet tours of this farm. We don't have much of a problem with ticks here. Okay. So I mentioned Maggie is the dam of 2 mares that are active in our broodmare band. So fillies that retire from the racing stable will come and join the band. So we get to see their families grow and expand over the years. So we take each year on a case-by-case basis with the mares. So mares can breed, some will breed up into their 20s, and others will retire a little earlier than that. It really depends on the mare herself, always taking her health and happiness into consideration. We've had a handful of mares retire around 19, but that's usually, like I said, it's up to that individual mare. These guys, class on class was asleep when we first walked up, and more than likely they'll be passed back out in the grass here in a minute when we leave. They're very quiet here. So it's hard to say if a mare would remember her foal. Some mares that we have, because we do have fillies retiring from the broodmare or from the racing stable to join the band, we'll have some mares and their fillies in the same barn together. And some seem like they recognize one another and they spend time together, and others have their own friends that they spend time with. There's no more food in there, Maggie. I mentioned this farm, it's 800 acres. This is the biggest of the 3 farms we have here. And these paddocks are so large because we don't have any foals. So on our nursery farm, if you've watched any of the previous live streams, you see that we have some smaller paddocks and some bigger paddocks that are not quite as large as this. But because we don't have foals here, and these mares will go out into much larger groups and stay out for most of the day, we're able to have these much bigger paddocks. So when we're mating mares with stallions, we're always considering the stallion's features and the mare's features, and we're trying to pick stallions that will complement the best in our mares. That old adage of breeding the best of the best. So we'll come out here and I'll show you guys that large paddock I talked about. So right now, I mentioned most of our mares are over at the nursery farm because they have their foals. The mares that are here are retired mares and our maiden mares that have not had a foal yet. So maiden is the term that we use to refer to mares that have not foaled. So you can maybe barely see some of them up on the hill up there. So our mares that are in the band now that had foals this year will stay on the farm until their foals are about 5 to 6 months of age. At that point, the mare will be weaned. She'll come to this farm, and she's in foal, and she'll be grouped by the expected foaling date. So we get that by taking the date that the mare visited the stallion, we count forward 11 months. That's kind of the average gestation period for a horse. And she comes to this farm and she'll be grouped with other mares that are due around the same time as her. And those are the groups that she'll be in when she's out on this farm. And she'll stay in that group when she transfers back to the nursery farm. We'll start that process in about November, December of later on in this year. This whole paddock, this is 100 acres. This paddock is massive. It's one of the reasons why when the mares are here, they only come up into the barn about once a week. They'll be fed in their paddocks for the most part. If we had them coming up into the barn every single day, it'd be a little harder to find them. In this field, if one of the mares was over on the other side of the field, it would take about 45 minutes to walk out and get her. And you can really see the topography that makes this region so famous. Those rolling hills of the bluegrass. So those hills are formed by the limestone that's underneath. So limestone was deposited during the Ordovician period. This is the oldest bedrock in the state of Kentucky. That's what gives all of our farms these nice rolling hills. And this is the land that our horses will get. They'll run up and down these hills. They'll build strong bones, get that foundation they need for when they go to the racetrack. So that's the land that we are raising them on. Yes, she can go back to the farm as a stallion. If she does not catch in the first go around, she can go back to the stallion. Do you all have any other questions? I'll come down here. We do have 2 pairs of swans on both of the ponds that we have on this farm. Hoping maybe they would make an appearance today. Our oldest foals were born in January, so we won't start weaning them until June, and that's done on a case-by-case basis with the foals as well. So some foals may stay with mom a little bit longer. Some mares will stay with their foals a little longer just for their health and happiness. And we don't take all the mares away at once. They'll come over in pairs. We'll leave a mare behind to act as a nanny for all the foals. She makes sure they stay their routine, make sure they're happy, they're comforted. And then she'll come over to this farm as well, and she's weaned. We had a mare last year. Her name was Maiwandi's Girl, and she was the mare that stayed behind with her group of foals. And she was so sweet that she actually let all of the foals in her group nurse on her, not just her own foal. We don't have any trouble with coyotes. This farm is just absolutely beautiful. I'm very happy it didn't rain. Do you all have any last questions about any of our retired mares here? Thank you for joining us. Yes, so we do mow the grass. So it seems like an exercise in futility, but mowing the grass actually helps it grow back better and stronger. It's part of our multi-step pasture maintenance plan to make sure that these paddocks the horses spend so much time in are the absolute best that we can provide them with. These guys may have a little nap here in a little bit. Do you all have any last questions? So the ages of these 3 mares, this chestnut mare on the right, she's 29. Maggy Hawk in the middle is 26. And Class on Class in the back is 25. The mares that are active in the band, of course, are much younger. So none of these guys have jumped this fence, but that's a funny story. So Cavorting was a mare that we purchased as a weanling. And when we first brought her back to the farm, she actually jumped 2 paddock fences before she calmed down and managed to stay in her paddock. But all that energy she had definitely helped her on the racetrack. She's a multiple grade 1 winner. She won graded stakes races all of the years that she was on the racetrack. And she's now retired to the band. So when she first came over to this farm, she was in a field with Rachel's Valentina, Bounding, and Tanasa. And she's now had 3 foals, and she had a Curlin colt this year. Y'all have any other questions? So the last purpose that this farm serves is, in addition to the mares that are retiring from the racetrack to join the band, this is also where horses that retire from racing and go on to second careers, this will be their first stop. So they'll come here, they'll go out into some smaller paddocks, they'll be let down, that's the process of them relaxing into their second careers from the racetrack. And those horses that don't enter our breeding program will go to new vocations. They'll be donated out to second careers, adopted out to second careers. But we don't adopt out the retired mares, just the younger horses that are coming off the racetrack. So no, the age of the mare doesn't affect her offspring. You can have mares that have their first foals will go on and be champions on the racetrack. Then you can also have a mare who, her very last foal, is the horse that becomes a graded stakes winner. It's really just dependent on the horse themselves. So I'm happy you all could join us today. We'll revisit this farm in another live stream in the future. If you all have any questions that you think of after the stream, or if I wasn't able to answer your question, you can send us a message on Instagram. And we'll save this to our story. And all of the live tours that we do, we also post on our YouTube channel. So you can catch up on all the tours we've done so far. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Bye, girls. You all enjoy your day. You guys have a good day. Stay safe. And we'll see you in our next tour.